now. But since there doesn't seem to be anyone around yet, I'm gonna wait for a little bit before I start this visual novel reading. Share it out on my social media channels. Hello, Robert, Kraken, General. Oh, hiyo. I'm just sharing out the stream on my social media channels right now. Have you been in my channel before? As if you have, I'm gonna give you a wrench, make you a moderator. Yeah, I'm subscribed to you. So, let's see, how do you do this thing again? There you go. Enjoy your wrench. This is a visual novel I made a few years ago. It's the most recent one I made too. It's made in Renpai. Nothing fancy and no branching paths. Let's see, two people around right now. That's you and me. Well, I hope you don't mind. Should I start now? Yes, Natsu. It's for Android. I actually have several for the PC, but at this point in time, I think they're so old that Windows would consider them to be viruses because they're not very common programs. You can search for Radical Dreamers 2002 on the visual novel database. Anyway, I have two people here now, so I shall begin. Chapter 1, The Heartless Girl and the Doctor. Samantha was a lonely little girl. You see, the other children refused to play with her. When asked why, they would always reply with the same reason. It's because she's different from us. How different, you might ask? Well, you see, unlike the other kids, little Samantha literally did not have a heart. But that's impossible, right? How is she even alive if she doesn't have a heart? There are probably a dozen or more questions in your head right now, but this was this plain and simple truth. Samantha did not have a heart. As such, the other children's parents warned them to stay away from Samantha. parents would allow their child to play with a little girl without a heart? A heartless child? Why, that's totally irresponsible. And so, because no one would play with her, Samantha became very sad and oh so lonely. But Samantha was not a girl who took things lying down. No, she would take action. It's simple. I have decided if I don't have a heart, then I will just look for one. But where do I start? Of course, the answer was actually quite simple. Siri, how do you get a heart? To acquire a new heart, one must find the 7 pieces of a heart that has been broken. Fine! Where do I begin? The first stage is understanding. Go and see Dr. John Rationale for the first stage of finding the pieces of a broken heart. And so Samantha's quest began. Fortunately, it was a short trip. Dr. John's house was just right next door. Dr. Rationale, may I come in? Well, go on, come in. Not like it matters. Although Samantha thought his answer was strange, it's not like he told her to go away. So, she let herself inside. Dr. John's house was very gloomy. It was dark with only one bedside lamp on. Dr. John himself was lying in bed, staring straight up at the ceiling like a zombie. Why, Dr. John, whatever is the matter? It's over. But wait, what if it's not over? Right, she still needs me. No, she doesn't need me. Oh, greetings, Mr. 64. Welcome back to the stream, the channel. Anyway, let us continue. Ooh, 4. Which is it? Which is it? Excuse me, doctor, but what are you talking about? I cannot understand you. Huh? Oh, it's you, the heartless girl. Well, I suppose I might as well tell you. Not like it matters anymore. It's my only daughter. She finally left me for a man. Some flamboyant singer from the city. After 19 years of caring for her, this is the thanks I get. She just leaves me. She was all I had after my wife died, but now she's left me too. Or has she? No, that guy was no good. She'll come back. Or not? I don't know. I see. Are you confused? Confused? Why, yes. That word seems to describe me perfectly. Tell me, doctor, did you love your daughter? Well, of course. Did you think she loved you back? believe so, then that's all that really matters, isn't it? At that moment, everything became crystal clear for Dr. John Rationale. Yes, of course, you are correct. Thank you. It all makes sense to me now. What was your name again? It's Samantha, Doctor. I see. Well then, I'm forgetting my manners. Now, how can I help you, Sam? Well, Siri told me that I should start by talking to you. I'm looking for the pieces of a broken heart so that I can have my own heart. Ah, I see. Siri told you that. I'll be right back. With that, the doctor fumbled around inside of his stash of medical instruments for a bit. A few moments later, he reappeared with an oddly shaped piece of wood that had been freshly painted red. I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're looking for, but I think this heart piece should be compatible with you. Ah, so this is a piece of a heart, isn't it? Thank you very much, Doctor. You're welcome, Sam. Good luck with finding the rest of the heart pieces. Oh, and I'll give you a clue. I think I know what Siri was talking about. Next, you will need to find someone who has an anger problem. I think you'll find exactly what you're looking for somewhere in the park. Samantha bowed deeply and then looked up at Dr. Rationale with large, innocent, solemn eyes. Thank you, Doctor. I'll never forget your kindness. Nor will I forget yours, Sam. Dr. Rationale answered back. But Samantha had already departed before his words could be heard. Chapter 2: The Angry Painter. Happily clutching her one piece of a broken heart, which was basically a thin piece of wood painted red, by the way, Samantha strolled into the park. The local park was a busy place and was filled with children playing all kinds of games. I've got ice powers, what have you got? One little girl said heartily to another as she pretended to be some kind of snow princess. Of course, while this was fun to watch for Samantha, she knew very well that she could not join them. They would not allow her to play with them, at least not while she did not have a heart. Suddenly, from out of nowhere, a cry of anguish and protest. No, no, no! This is wrong! It's all wrong! All wrong, I say! Oh, why can I never get it right? Stupid brush! Stupid paint! Stupid canvas! Ah! It's all useless! Utterly useless! approached him cautiously. Sir, whatever is the matter? Why are you so angry? Everything! Absolutely everything! I'm going crazy! The painter had buried his face in his hands and answered Samantha without looking back at her. Surely you're joking. How can everything be wrong? The painter pointed his thumb at the broken canvas. On it was a painting of a park, complete with all the people walking around and the children playing. And oh, in the corner of the entrance, there was even someone who looked a lot like Samantha. But the painting was not finished yet, so she couldn't be sure. Why, it's an absolutely beautiful painting, sir. Do you think so? Yes, I absolutely love it. So cute how you painted everyone in the park in here. And that's the problem! What? It's because I keep getting better. I can never complete a single painting. While I'm in the middle of painting something, I soon realize that I am much better than when I started. I end up crashing the painting and starting over again, so that I can paint the picture to the best of my abilities. It also happened just now. I learned some new techniques while I was painting this picture of the park. Of course, by then it was too late to use these techniques in the entire painting. So I threw it away. I need to start over again so I can make an even better painting. But if you keep doing that, then you'll never finish anything. I know! And that's the problem! The painter was clearly furious. He looked mad enough to bite Samantha's head off. Still, she stood her ground. But, can I ask you a question, Mr. Painter? What? What is it already? Go on, ask! Why do you paint? Why, just like all artists, I paint to express myself, of course. And whom do you want to express yourself to? A useless question. The people who would appreciate my works, of course. Just like, just like. I think your painting is so beautiful, sir. And just like that, the painter's anger instantly melted away into realization. Thank you. I think I can finally finish a real painting for once. Thank you so much, little girl. You can call me Samantha. May I know your name, Mr. Painter? It's Vincent. By the way, Samantha, since you really helped me out, is there anything I can do for you? Samantha thought for a moment, and then she turned to the broken canvas. She noticed that there was one piece of the backing board that had splintered away. She took her own heart piece and placed it next to the broken piece of board and saw that they actually fit together to form what was beginning to look like a heart. this broken piece, Mr. Vincent? And would you please paint it red for me? Well, I have no use for it, so certainly. With a few strokes of his brush, Vincent had painted the broken piece completely. Here you go, Samantha. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. By the way, Samantha, what should I paint next? Well, I think you should paint whatever you want to. Even if the result is something that you think is bad, you shouldn't just throw your old works away. What is good or bad is just one stroke of your brush apart, isn't it? Even if it looks bad right now, you can surely turn it into something beautiful one day. Chapter 3. What is truly important? Having left the park after acquiring the second piece of a broken heart from Vincent the painter, Samantha now had no idea what to do. She had tried asking Siri, but there were no further instructions beyond this point. I suppose I'll just walk around for a bit. If only I had some kind of glue. Samantha simply let her legs carry her to wherever they might take her. She walked along without any thought of reaching a particular destination, only following the path that was in front of her. Pretty soon, she found herself in the middle of an unfamiliar neighborhood. Even though the houses looked quite different in design from the ones in her area. She came upon a teenage girl who was softly sobbing by the sidewalk. When Samantha saw this, she knew that she just couldn't leave this person alone by herself. She stepped up to the crying girl. Hello? Can I ask why you're crying so much? Look. The teenager showed Samantha the thing that she had been preciously cupping in her hands. It was a little bird's body. Its eyes were closed, and it was lying motionless. It was dead. It was her pet, mine and my sister Alexia's. It died because she refused to take care of it after she got tired of playing with it. She went out and bought a puppy and left this little one in its cage to starve to death. What? That's horrible. But why would you do that, miss? Miss... Oh, my name is Melania. What's your name, little girl? It's Samantha. But yeah, why would your sister, Alexia, was it? Why would she do that? It's because she grew tired of this pet, so she got a new one. Couldn't you have taken care of it without her? I can't. She got angry at me when I tried to help the bird out. She threatened to kick me out of the house. I'm economically dependent on her, so I can't do anything about it. economically dependent? Oh, big word, okay? It means I can't feed myself without her. I have a frail body, so I can't work. So I have to depend on her for money and support. But you loved this bird, didn't you? Of course I did. He kept me company whenever I was lonely. He was my only friend because I couldn't go out too often because of my weak body. Now he's gone. I couldn't even do anything for him. My sister, she always does this. We've had lots of pets go through this cycle of being neglected. I'm afraid that new puppy will meet the same fate once she gets tired of it. You should talk to her about it. You should let her know how much she's hurting you when she does that. She'll never listen. She might even try to hit me. She did that once when I tried to talk back at her. And I need her because I can't even take care of myself. I'm a hypocrite. I want to take care of these animals when I can't even take care of myself. At this point, Samantha realized that talking to her anymore would just make Melania even sadder. Therefore, she went past the teenage girl and straight into the house behind. The door was open. Samantha knocked twice before entering. Miss Alexia, are you here? What's this? A child has invaded my premises? Sorry about that. I was just talking to your sister Melania outside. Oh, really now? What kind of lies was she spreading about me? Samantha was taken by surprise at how cold and blunt Alexia was. She was also a confident, imposing woman, unlike the timid Melania. If it were not for the strong family resemblance between them, it would have been very hard to believe that they were actually blood-related. Clearly, Alexia was the elder sibling based on her domineering attitude and her slightly more mature facial features. What is it, child? Didn't you have something to say? Tell me already, or I'll have to ask you to leave. You're wasting my time enough as it is. Samantha steeled her resolve. She had actually decided to do something about the situation as soon as she heard the story from Melania. Even if Alexia was a bit scary, she would not change her mind now. It's the animals. Melania really cares for them. Oh, is she still crying about that bird that died? It was just a cheap little canary. We can buy tons of others. Why, I could buy her a whole flock of them if I wanted to. But only if I wanted to. But you don't get it. That one canary was special to Melania. What are you talking about? One bird is no different from the rest. Isn't that right, Henry? She petted the little puppy that had come up to her as she said this. They're alive! So each one is different. Every living thing is special. No, child, you don't get it. To you, they are special. To me, they are nothing more than objects. Toys bought to entertain me and my sister. And toys to be discarded when they are no longer of use to me. That's horrible. That is reality, child. Then what about your sister Melania? Is she just another toy to entertain you too? Someone to be thrown away when she no longer pleases you? Exactly. Is that all I am to you, Alexia? Melania, of course not. You're more than a toy to me. You're family. Then why can't you treat these animals that way as well? As family? Because they are just toys for me. They are not just toys. They were my friends. Friends? Come now. If these are what you consider friends, I can buy you some new friends to replace the old ones. Stop causing such a drama over nothing, sister. At this point, little Samantha had become quite frustrated with the endless back and forth argument between the two sisters. She knew that this conversation was going nowhere fast, so she decided to step in. Taking a deep breath, she shouted out as loud as she could. Stop! Even the normally calm and collected Alexia jumped back in surprise at the decibel level of Samantha's voice. Who knew that such a loud voice could come from such a tiny body? I get it now. There's no way that you two are going to convince each other. For Melania, animals are her friends. For Alexia, animals are toys not worth loving and caring for. I've never even had a pet, so I can't say who is right or wrong here. What I do know is that you two do care for each other. Well, of course, child. It's just that Melania here is causing such a ruckus over. Listen for a moment and let me finish! Samantha interrupted Alexia before she could finish, even though she knew it was wrong to do this to people, especially someone older than her. However, there are times when manners and scruples must give way to necessity. Samantha realized that this was one of those times. She had to say what she wanted to say now, or these two would never listen. Why don't you make a what's that word? Compromise? Yes, compromise. Melania can take care of the needs of the pets, and Alexia can treat them as toys if she likes, but at least allow Melania to tend to their needs. Even to the needs of the ones that Alexia no longer wants. Alexia, if you care for your sister, then you can let her do this much, right? Alexia covered her face with one hand and bowed her head low so that her bangs covered her eyes. She trembled for a few moments. Melania took Samantha in hand and shielded her with her own body protectively from Alexa's impending wrath. Alexa laughed menacingly. That is an absolutely brilliant suggestion, child. It's Samantha. Alexa stumped towards Melania and grabbed Samantha by the shoulders. She then hurled her into the air with carefree abandon. Samantha rolled around limply in midair. She closed her eyes and braced herself for impact. But when she opened them again, she found herself cradled in Alexa's arms. Even though it felt a bit scary at first, she found it quite secure and comforting to be held this way. Thanks for that. It really cleared my head. Now, Melania? Yes, Alexa. My dear sister, I'm sorry if I caused you so much grief before. I'm sorry if I disrespected you and applied my own standards on you. I really didn't mean to. It's just that I can't accept your way of thinking about these things. Fine, these animals. But you probably can't accept my way of thinking either, correct? Melania shrugged hesitantly, but nodded to confirm her sister's words. But Melania, you should know that I love you. I've always loved you. Alexia, I love you too. You're my only sister. Of course I love you. Alexia was almost in tears, but not quite. Excellent, she said snappily, as if to prevent herself from giving in to tears. She had no time for such dramatics after all. Then, just as this sweet child has suggested, let us have a compromise. Now, I'm not sure if what she said was the most adequate solution, but let's work things out. Alexia put Samantha back on the ground gently. I was just getting used to it. Alexia smiled and then turned to Melania. Let's talk this over, sister. We have a lot to talk about. We sure do. Oh, but before that, we haven't thanked Samantha properly. We certainly have not. Oh, I know. Would you like to stay for dinner, Samantha? No, thank you. I wouldn't want to disturb you two. There is something, though. Would you happen to have something that would match these? There are supposed to be 7 parts of these heart pieces, and I'm looking for all of them. You see, I am a girl without a heart. That's why I'm on a quest to find the 7 pieces of a heart, so I may have my own. Melania, doesn't that look a bit like... Why yes, Alexia. It's the same shade as that wooden coaster that Father used to love. It's our special memento of him. But surely our little friend deserves to have it. Wouldn't you agree, Melania? Undoubtedly, sister. Father's memories will remain with us forever, whether his coaster is with us or not. As for Samantha, she earned it. With that, Alexia disappeared into the kitchen, only to return a few moments later with her father's wooden coaster, the third piece of a heart. Take good care of it now, child. I mean, Samantha. I will! Thank you very much. You two take care of each other too, okay? Chapter 4. Feelings Lost in Time. Since Siri was no longer of use to Samantha, she decided to retrace her steps and return to Dr. John Rational's house. It took her a little while, but she soon found her bearings and was happily on her way to the good doctor's house. Ah, Samantha, good to see you again. I've been expecting you. Dr. Rationale had anticipated that Siri would run out of instructions eventually. Fortunately, he already knew the next steps. He made out a list in a notebook with complete specifications on what Samantha should be looking for. With that, Samantha thanked the doctor and went on her way once again in her solitary quest for the heart pieces. Let's see now. According to Dr. John's instructions, I should look for someone who can't accept the past and wants to change it. Samantha scratched her chin and raised one eyebrow. After pondering it a bit, she decided on a course of action. Well, that old house at the edge of town is definitely a thing of the past. For that, her next destination had been decided. After walking for a while, Samantha arrived at the gateway to the place. The gates were rusted shut. There was actually enough room in between the metal bars for a girl as small as Samantha to just slip through, which she did. It was a large, sprawling, three-story mansion with large white fluted columns by the doorway. There was a long walkway leading to the house itself, with gardens on each side that might have been beautiful once. Now, they were just overgrown with weeds and vines. Samantha felt an eerie chill as soon as she took one step inside the gate. It was supposed to be daytime, but all of a sudden, the sky grew dark. It was almost as if the entire estate was shrouded in darkness. A place lost in time to eternal night. This was different, very different from anything that Samantha had encountered before. Nevertheless, clutching her 3 pieces of a broken heart, which were now tied up neatly in a drawstring bag that Professor Rationale had given her tightly to her chest, she pressed forward. With the ominous atmosphere surrounding the mansion, one might expect something dreadful to jump out of the bushes in ambush at any time. But nothing of that sort happened, and Samantha soon found herself in front of the mansion's doorway. The entrance was protected by a well-worn set of hardwood double doors. There was a bronze knocker in front, which surprisingly had not succumbed to rust. Samantha knocked twice, and there being no answer, she promptly let herself in. Upon entering the house, the interior was like an antique shop. The stained glass windows allowed just enough light to filter through for one to see inside. There were vintage wooden dolls, music boxes, and antique furniture with intricate hand-carved wooden designs. All of which had not been covered with anything to keep the dust off. It was almost as if the owner of the mansion was expected to return at any time. Actually, it seemed more like the owner of the mansion had always been there. Ah, greetings. I see we have a new guest. Welcome, dear child. Oh, pardon the intrusion. Samantha did a curtsy as she said this, as an instinctive response to the stranger's extremely formal way of speaking. The lady of the mansion descended gracefully from the spiral staircase in front. Samantha was quite certain that she was a lady of the mansion, because there were no other ladies who resided in this mansion. At least not from what one could observe. Also, she introduced herself as such. You may refer to me as Lady Antoinette. I am the lady of this house, and currently the only resident. But perhaps not for long. And I'm Samantha. Nice to meet you, Lady Antoinette. Antoinette was a petite figure with long flowing hair that just about reached down to the tip of her knees, and wore a pure white summer dress that was neither too flashy to be garish nor too revealing to be considered immodest. In short, everything about her, including her smallish face and sharp eyes, just seemed to fall into place. If Samantha could think of one adjective to describe her, it would be perfect. I mean, I'm perfectly sorry for intruding like this. Ah, pish tush, do not be. You are hardly unwelcome here, my dear. In an instant, the lady of the mansion had closed the distance between herself and Samantha. Quite an impressive feat, considering that the spiral staircase was probably a good 5 meters away. Also, the lady had not done anything extremely physical, such as jumping or running towards Samantha, which would have been easier to understand. In fact, she just seemed to flow from the staircase to the ground and towards Samantha. And these had all happened in an instant. Still, Samantha was not one to raise a fuss about things which she did not understand. For indeed, there were a lot of things that she did not understand. You see, this mansion only opens its doors to guests who are welcome. But you must be mistaken. I just let myself in. Not at all. There can be no mistake. If the doors have been opened, then you are a guest of this mansion. That is all. The mansion only opens its doors to guests who are welcome. Even if I am repeating myself for this statement. Wait, then that would mean that there were other guests inside of this mansion? Yes, there were. Eh? Past tense? Does that mean there are no more guests right now? As I have said, right now I am the only resident of this mansion. Although it was not always this way. You see, this mansion opens and closes its doors only to guests whom it deems worthy. As such, it works both ways. Antoinette prepared some tea and invited Samantha to sit with her as they talked. Whether that tea set and the tables and chairs which she had sat on were always there or not was a complete mystery. As Samantha herself never noticed them before. In any case, it was a fact that they were there right at that moment. Meanwhile, Samantha took a step back and made some hasty steps towards the double doors from which she had entered the mansion. She wanted to check something. Grabbing the doorknob, she twisted it firmly, then began to pull back with all her strength. As she had expected, it would not budge. Samantha weakly walked back to where Antoinette was. The lady had finished preparing tea for the both of them. Having nothing else to do for the moment, Samantha took a seat right next to Antoinette, although she refused to drink the tea offered to her. Now then, the mansion only opens its doors to those who are worthy. As such, it also allows exit only to those who are ready to be reunited with the outside world. In other words, this mansion exists in a place outside the effects of time itself. Even if 100 years were to pass, you and I would still look the same. And so would the rest of the mansion, forever untainted by time. In other words, eternal life? That is one way of putting it. With that aside, the mansion only opens its doors to those who have lost their path in life. Perhaps you would care to share your story, Samantha? Let me get this straight. I haven't given up on getting out of this place just yet. But fine. For now, I can tell you my story. And so, Samantha told Antoinette everything. From the start of her journey to find a heart, up to how she eventually found her way into the mansion. Antoinette clapped her hands flamboyantly. Coming from someone else, it was an action that would have reeked of sarcasm. But it seemed extremely natural for someone like Antoinette, to the point that one would think that she was born just to clap her hands. Which of course was not the case. That was such an inspiring story, Samantha. Now, if you will hear me out, I will tell you my story. Samantha nodded. Now, where to begin? Ah yes, first of all, let me tell you about my husband and I. It was a long time ago, and you might call our relationship one that was written by destiny. We were practically made for each other, and were extremely compatible from the start. It's not like we had promised destiny to one another, but I had always thought that this would be the case. It happened when I had our first and only child. She was a pretty young thing, and even though I was never good with children, it was almost as if she had charmed me from the start. Did you know? The first thing that she called me was Big Sister. I have no idea where she might have picked that up from, but that is exactly what she called me. My husband insisted that we correct her, but I paid no heed to him. Personally, I found it quite charming, would you not say? It is definitely different. And as the child grew, the more the distance between I and my husband grew. It was as if my world was reserved only for my daughter, and my husband was just an annoyance that I had to deal with every day. This was what I truly thought at that time. And of course, he realized this as well. Because, how could he not? I was not even trying to deny nor hide it. At some point, I stopped thinking about him as my husband altogether. I thought of him as something less than a human. A cockroach. Yes, an annoying cockroach who just happened to live inside the same house as my daughter. Something to be crushed beneath my feet. Oh, you find that image disturbing? Nevertheless, it is the truth. My husband became fed up with my coldness towards him. One day, he confronted me about it, just as I had tucked my daughter into bed. I did not feel like holding back, so I told him honestly how I felt. Absolutely everything. But what I did not expect was that my daughter, who was not yet fully asleep, would hear me calling her father a cockroach. Then, without warning, I felt it. The sting of her tiny hand against my cheek. She had slapped me. She was a mere child about your size, so she did not muster much strength. Nevertheless, it hurt me. It hurt me deeply. Much deeper than if someone had stabbed me from behind, twisted the knife over and over to prolong the agony. It hurt me so much that I tore out of the house screaming in agony. On must have looked like a lunatic. No. Perhaps I had lost my mind long ago. Was it really such a sin for me to love her so much? But that was when I first came upon this mansion, when its doorways first opened for me. And I have been the lady of this house ever since. I've watched countless lives come and go since then. Young, old, people from different walks of life who have lost their path. They always end up in here. And of course, when they are ready to leave, the mansion always opens its doors. It has always opened its doors twice for everyone, except me. Now then, that is enough talk for today. You must be exhausted from your journey here. I will show you to your room. Sure thing, Lady Antoinette. But one more thing before we go. Samantha jumped off her seat and onto her feet. Don't you think you've done enough here? You love your husband and your daughter as well, don't you? You should just go back and apologize, is what I think. Antoinette was taken aback by Samantha's words. Of course, all who knew Samantha, the real Samantha, and not the girl without a heart, would know that such a thing was quite normal for this child. That is. Antoinette stumbled back 3 to 4 steps, having lost her composure. Like a camera flash, white light entered the mansion as the double doors stubbornly creaked open. It's open, Antoinette. This is it. Your husband and daughter are waiting for you. Let's go! They are waiting? Sure they are. You're sorry for what you've done, right? You've spent enough time within this mansion. It's time to go back. Go to them. Come with me. Samantha held out her hand before her host. Antoinette slowly but surely took Samantha's hand in hers, a hand that was slightly smaller than her own. One that reminded her very much of someone that she still held very dear to her heart. Yes, let us go, dear child. It may be time to leave this place. Ah, yes. But before that, Antoinette tore off a small piece from the top of one of the mansion's ornately sculpted chairs. I think this will suffice for your peace of the heart. Samantha stared intently at the piece of wood that Antoinette had given her. And then she closed her eyes and clutched it close to her chest before placing it into her drawstring bag. That makes 4 pieces. I've still got some ways to go, but I'm getting there. Suddenly, she felt a light shove push her from behind, and before she knew it, Samantha was outside the mansion again. However, Antoinette was no longer with her. Samantha banged on the doors, Antoinette? Why? I don't get it! You wanted to apologize, didn't you? Why couldn't you come with me? Who knows when the mansion's doors will open again? Why didn't you come out to meet them when you had the chance? Because Antoinette's weak voice could be heard from inside. No, perhaps it had always been her true voice, unembellished by any pretense. Because I'm not quite ready, Samantha. It would be nice if the world worked in such simple ways as you seem to imagine. But it's not always like that. Happy endings don't always happen just because you wished hard for something. No, not even if you worked hard for something. But you had the happy ending that you wished for right in front of you. Why couldn't you just accept it? I wasn't ready. Samantha, I don't know when I'll truly be ready. But when the time comes, I'll surely come to meet them again. And of course, we will see each. And her voice trailed off. Whatever forces that separated the mansion, the rest of the world, frozen in time, had taken its full effect. And Samantha was alone, once again. Fine then. If that's how you want it, then it's fine, Antoinette. And thus, Samantha gave the fourth piece of a heart. She walked off with a smile, knowing fully well that someday the doors would open for Antoinette once again, even if she would not be there to witness it. Chapter 5: The Hate-Driven Boy. I guess he's not here anymore. Samantha had meant to stop by at Dr. John Rational's house just before she continued on in her quest. But the good doctor was not at home at the moment. Therefore, she simply moved on. Her next destination was a riverbank, where an oddly unique boy was hanging out. The place was only a short distance away from Dr. Rational's house, and after 10 to 15 minutes of walking, Samantha arrived. There were plenty of people by the riverbank. Most were kids who liked to stop by here before coming home from school. In the distance, Samantha caught sight of a boy who looked exactly as Dr. Rational had described. He was sitting by the shore and throwing stones by himself into the river. Apparently, he was trying to make them bounce, but he didn't seem to be very good at it. Every once in a while, he'd get a stone that bounced 2 or 3 times, but most of them sunk immediately. There must have been something wrong with his technique, Samantha thought. She moved closer, but didn't approach him yet. She was fascinated by what he was doing. This is because he threw each stone the exact same way every single time, expecting a different result. There was a label attached to a person who liked to do this, but Samantha did not dare let her thoughts go in that direction. At that moment, three older-looking, taller kids approached the boy from behind. Then, without warning, one of them kicked his back, causing him to tumble face first into the muddy ground. Serves you right. You splashed water into my expensive school uniform, you little brat. Samantha was astonished at this sight. She immediately thought about rushing in. But what happened next made her stop cold in her tracks. Oh, bullies. Typical. The boy simply got up and lightly dusted his clothes off. Then he stared straight at his tormentors with a look of pity on his face. It was almost as if he was looking at a bunch of insects who were not even worth crushing beneath his feet. The biggest and tallest bully of the group grabbed the boy by his shirt and then drew back and began to punch him over and over again in the face. The boy made no move to shield his face. Samantha grimaced and covered her eyes at this brutal sight. However, the boy did not so much as wince or even make a pained sound, as he was relentlessly beaten up. Hey, what's wrong with this kid? Is he okay? In the head, I mean. Yeah, he's not making a sound. What's wrong with him? The bully who was beating him up finally let go of the boy, who just stood there with his face hidden in the shadow of his somewhat long bangs. There! What's wrong? You scared to say anything? Next time, be careful where you throw those things. Got it? Well then, that it? The boy raised his head at the bully in front of him. He flashed a menacing grin. His eyes were wide and expressionless, like that of a dead fish. A brutal onslaught of epic proportions followed. First, he grabbed the nearest bully's index finger and quickly twisted it upwards, causing the larger kid to squeal in terror. After that, he quickly jumped onto the flailing bully's head, used the momentum of the jump, combined with his own weight, topple the bigger boy over, and fall into the grassy riverbank. With his opponent mounted, the boy then unleashed a barrage of punches on his victim. Each blow struck with full power and pure bloodlust. Hey! That's enough! Let go of him! While one of the other kids quickly ran away to safety, the other one was obviously more loyal to their leader. He grabbed the smaller boy by the neck in an attempt to drag him off of his friend. Ah! But the small boy bit down hard on the arm that was around his neck. He bit down so hard that his teeth actually dug into the other bully's arm and drew blood. The bully forcefully withdrew his arm, tearing some of the skin off even further. He kicked and punched at the smaller kid, who quickly turned his fury upon him and unleashed a barrage of scratches right on his face. disoriented the stronger, larger attacker for half a second, which was more than enough time for the smaller boy to grab a nearby rock and smash it into his opponent's face. At this point, the bully who had tried to help the fallen one staggered back and stumbled onto his knees. He then managed to crawl away into a gallop and eventually run away on both legs. The boy then turned to the weakened, fallen bully, who had managed to slowly stagger back onto his feet. He held out his hand in surrender. His former victim would have none of that. The boy clenched his fists and prepared to launch another brutal assault. Stop! The voice did not really startle the boy, but it seemed that it was enough to make him stop. Samantha's sudden intervention gave the bully just enough of an opening to turn and run before the boy could reach him. Well, hello there, miss. Sorry you had to see that. The boy turned to Samantha with a genuine smile on his face. In fact, there were no traces of hostility left in his expression. It was as if nothing had happened. My name's Billy, by the way. Pleased to meet you. I'm Samantha. Pleased to meet you too, Billy, but just how do you do that? Do what exactly? I mean, attack those bullies. Not like they don't deserve it, but I mean, how could you attack those bullies so viciously? Be so friendly with me the next moment. That is simple, Samantha. I have no quarrel with you. After all, and you did stop me from going too far. If anything, I should thank you. But weren't you really angry at them just a few moments ago? I was, but I am not angry with you. Actually, you're too cute for me to be angry at you. I see. Samantha hesitated for a moment. In truth, she did not dislike the compliment at all. But Billy, how do you manage to do that? To switch from angry to not angry at a moment's notice? That's quite simple, Sam. The truth is that I'm always angry. Huh? What? It's a long story, but I think you have time to listen. Am I right? Samantha knelt down into a sitting position on the grassy bank. Billy understood that she wanted him to continue. You see, Samantha, I am a robot. You see, Samantha, I am a robot. Okay. I wasn't always like this, of course. I was once just a normal kid. Maybe kinda naughtier than other kids, but still normal. Still, I was a very healthy kid, unlike my older brother, who was very sickly. Anyway, I really like him and look up to him. He never allowed his frail body to get the better of him. He taught me all kinds of things, from how to play the guitar, to rollerblades, even boxing. He was sort of the star of the family, and I really idolized him. But this didn't change the fact that he was sickly. One day we were just playing around, and he started coughing up blood. I knew it was serious, because this had never happened before. I rushed to call my parents, and we immediately took him to the hospital. I'm not sure what the doctor told them exactly, but it was something like he'd have just 1 week to live if he didn't get a kidney transplant. It seems that he needed one from an immediate family member, and my parents both agreed to be the donors. But the tests showed that they were both incompatible. In fact, the tests showed that I was the only one who had a shot at saving my brother. While the doctors tried to tell me what the organ transplant would entail, I didn't care. If it was to save my brother, I was all for it. Of course, my brother himself was against this idea. Choked on some water. He warned me that if I agreed to this, then there would be trouble in the future. I didn't truly understand what he meant at that time, and maybe I never really understood it, but at the very least, the kidney transplant was successful. After spending a month in the hospital to recover, my brother was back in tip-top shape again. Of course, this is only the start of things. 6 months later, he again started coughing up blood. The doctor said that this time he needed a liver transplant. Again, I was the only possible donor. They said that they could create an artificial liver for me, which would work just as good as my old one. They couldn't do the same for my brother because of his weak constitution. This time, however, I didn't want to undergo the same procedure again. I felt that I lost something, not a physical something, the first time around, and I didn't want to lose another thing again. But my parents insisted that it was to save my brother. I refused, and my brother was always on my side with this matter, but my parents wouldn't listen. They insisted that if we both could be saved, then it's better if one of us was left with an artificial liver. Of course, after that, it became a habit. And Unfortunately, it seems that my brother's body was so weak that it was always meant to malfunction, one by one as he grew older. Meanwhile, as the years went by, I would donate more and more of my organs to him. Lungs, bone marrow, my other kidney, and eventually, even my heart. Is something the matter, Sam? No, please continue. Well, it went on and on like this for a while. Always, I was forced to be the donor for my sickly brother, until eventually, almost my entire body had been given to him. And that is why I am a robot. Now, Sam, after hearing a story like this, let me ask you, how does it make you feel? Angry. Makes me really angry. Really angry to the point that I could hurt someone. Hurt someone, you say? Really? Is that the extent of your anger, Sam? Is that bad? No, it's really good. I'm happy to know that there are still people like you left in the world. My anger, it empowers me. It makes me strong, Sam. But you? Someone like you doesn't have to be like that. And I'm glad that I met someone like you. Samantha noticed that Billy had been fiddling with something in his hand for a while. What's that? Oh, this? Catch! Billy tossed the thing that he had been working on to Samantha. She caught it with both hands and then began to inspect it with large, curious eyes. But this is... Yep, it's a piece of a heart. I figured you were needing something like that. But how did you know? Well, I happened to look inside your drawstring bag, which I'd snatched while you were busy listening to my story. Billy showed her the bag that he had indeed stealthily stolen away from her. Eh? What? How mean! Don't do stuff like that. Samantha quickly snatched the bag away from Billy and clutched it tightly to her chest. Haha! Now that's how you get angry. Samantha shook her head and then closed her eyes and smiled sweetly at Billy. No, not at all. You're a weirdo, but you're not a bad person. I thought that I could help you, but I see there's nothing that I can do for you. So, thank you for sharing your story with me, Billy. And thank you for listening, Sam. Well then, I'll be on my way. Sure thing. Later. Oh, and Samantha, one more thing. Yes? Aren't you a whole lot like me? Chapter 6, Heart to Heart. With 5 heart pieces down and 2 to go, Samantha had a spring in her step as she bounced along to her next destination. She took a quick glance at the list that Dr. Rationale had given her